Hey, how's it going? I'm Adam Buchanan here with Experticity. This is the Expert Live Show. This is where we connect you, experts, with interesting brands on experticity.com. Today we're at Altra Running headquarters here with founder Golden Harper.
Hey.
Hey, Golden.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. This is so exciting to be here. We already have a ton of people on the live chat. Golden, are you ready to take some questions today?
Oh, I'm so ready. So ready.
ready.
Questions are what I do.
That's right. Golden, Altra is just that awesome brand that we all know and love, and zero drop technology has just really changed how people are running, finding more comfort, and really enjoying running. So today, experts, you can ask Golden anything you want. If you've tried Altra, if you want to share some feedback, or if you're getting to know Altra and have any questions about zero drop, this is the quickest way that you can get an answer from the guy who started it.
And hard questions are not off limits. Bring them.
Okay, deal. All right. So I'm going to be checking questions here, but before we dive into the questions, go ahead and ask them now. I want to take it back of you, Golden, as a runner. It sounds like, I read your story, you were running before you were walking and crawling. Is that true?
Walking, yes. I crawled first.
Okay.
So my parents read studies that children that crawl longer are more intelligent, and so you shouldn't have your kid walk. So they would always push me down whenever I stood up.
At what age were they pushing you down?
Till like 15 months. So I guess like they set me outside the car one day, and there was a bunch of kids in the playground, and I'd never walked really, and I just took off running. So crazy, stupid, I don't know what you want to call it.
Okay, so you come from a family of runners.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if someone wants to get their kid into running, what is the theory behind you're pushing your kid down until I just want to get this right. I've got kids of my own, and I'm like, okay, how do I turn them into incredible legend runners like Golden? And we're going to talk more about that. So the thought behind this is?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I've mixed feelings about this, but I think for me it was because my neighbors ran and my parents ran. Okay. And to me it was just like what people did. So I was that super loser kid in kindergarten who showed up and sat down and was like, so where do you run? And people were like, get away from me, like,
wow.
But I just thought that's what people did. And so I think if you want to get your kid into running, make running something that's important in your life as well, and let them follow by example, and not because you're telling them to do something. My parents never pushed me to run. They pulled me, and it was just because they were out doing it and I wanted to do it. My parents went and ran in the mountains, so I was like, well, I want to go run in the mountains and chase deer and stuff, Okay. So that's kind of my thing.
That's awesome. So let's take it to your age 10, 12, and you start running marathons.
Yeah.
I was still building like couch pillow forts. I mean, so tell me about these marathons, and you set a record for the St. George Marathon at age 12, correct?
Yeah.
And what was that time?
So I ran 2:45 at age 12, which is a world best that supposedly still stands today.
Okay, so
it's about 6 minutes a mile.
And that was, what year was that?
1994.
94.
Yeah.
So still holding that record today. Just want to take a moment and just really, show that Golden really is the real deal. It was crawl, run, walk, I believe. Mm-hmm. Well, have you ever walked, maybe?
I'm a fast walker.
Okay, fair. Let's see if we have any questions from you, the experts. Again, this is your chance. We're here live now at the Altra headquarters with founder Golden Harper. Go ahead, use the comment box and ask those questions. Got one from Jason here. I've been running since kindergarten, and I've cycled through numerous brands of shoes and brands. Super happy with Altra. While I understand the aesthetics may need to change on a shoe, are you committed to staying the course on your basic design elements, such as toe box width, zero drop, light and durable materials?
Yeah, absolutely. If Altra is anything but cushion, zero drop, and foot-shaped toe box, it will either A, cease to exist, or I will cease to be here.
Okay, fair.
So that's who we are. We are cushion, zero drop, foot-shaped toe box. That's who we are as a brand. That's what we believe in, because I firmly believe, after being in the running industry my whole life, working in a running store since I was 9 years old, looking at the biomechanics and studying it in college, that for people to be able to run the way they're supposed to run, the shoe has to be zero drop. Cushioning is necessary for modern surfaces. And then also a foot-shaped toe box is absolutely necessary for getting rid of most of the foot problems we deal with. And so for those reasons, Altra is cushion, zero drop, foot-shaped toe box, and also, one thing we didn't mention is fit for her. We're the only brand making a whole line of female-specific shoes, and so if those things change, then I think Altra kind of ceases to be, and I certainly cease to be.
For sure.
So, yeah.
Jason, thanks for your question. That was awesome. If anyone has any other thoughts or questions, please ask below. Want to take it back to when Altra started. So what was the running industry like back then? What was that, challenge you found from running shoe makers that you're like, hold on guys, there's a blind spot here. What was happening at that time? This was 07, 08.
09, yeah, through that era. Basically, what I discovered when I came back from college after studying shoes is that, if you go back 50 years ago before modern running shoes, basically no one was overstriding. And now 80+% of runners overstride. And so you start looking at that, and also injury rates are higher now than they were before modern running shoes. And so I was looking at it, from a research standpoint and being like, whoa, hold the phone here. I've been selling running shoes at my running store my whole life, and all these awesome technologies that I love and think are so cool aren't making injuries better.
Yeah.
And also they're actually making people run worse. So what's the deal? And as you get into it, we started to research shoes, and none of this data was published back then, but the way shoes are built is basically however thick the forefoot is in the midsole cushioning, they make the heel exactly twice as thick. And that's just the way shoes were built. So basically virtually all running shoes at the time were exactly twice as thick in the heel as they are on the forefoot. And then of course all of them have the traditional shape of a shoe that people are used to, which is a little bit more like a torpedo rather than the actual shape of a human foot. So that was kind of the lay of the landscape at the time.
So I want to talk about that for a second. We've been building shoes like triangles, but our feet are
squares.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like preschool all over again, where we were told not to put the square shape in the triangle hole.
Right.
And it was like this revelation to me. I'm reading all these podiatrists from back in the 70s who've been lobbying shoe companies for decades now, saying the shoes you're building are causing all the foot problems that are making me tons of money. But I actually really want to fix people, and until shoes are built to actually be shaped like human feet, that's not going to happen.
Wow.
And also shoes are misaligning people's posture and their foot position by elevating the heels, pushing up on the arches, pushing up on the forefoot as well, all that kind of stuff. So, you go back 40 years now, and there's all these scientists and researchers and podiatrists lobbying shoe companies to change their designs to actually be a way that's actually works with the human body instead of against it.
Okay, so 2008, 2009, you come across this discovery and you're like, hold the phone, and you start hustling, and you're taking this idea to shoe companies.
Yeah, so what we first did is we tried it out in my running store.
Okay.
And we had actually modified shoes for the staff and found that the staff, it worked really well. We looked at it on high-speed video and found out that, hey, in a cushioned zero-drop shoe, people run similar to the way they run without a shoe on. Okay. And then we put on the best-selling shoes that we're selling in the store, and people run not good. And so I still remember sitting there with my dad, and he's like, man, I teach everybody that comes in this store a little running lesson on how to protect their body. And then all this video looks like I sell them a pair of shoes that undoes that every time they go run, Wow. And it was a really frustrating moment for us. And that's when I really dove into looking at the way shoes are designed and found out that the heels are a lot thicker, and then obviously the toe boxes are tapered, and started modifying shoes. And we found it worked on video, it worked for our staff, and then somehow it bled onto a customer that then bled into a bunch of others. And we sold 1,000 pair of modified zero drop expanded toe box shoes that first year. Which is just a huge amount of shoes, and we got surveys back with all of them saying what things it helped with, what muscles changed, how their landing changed, wear patterns changed, all that stuff. So we had all this data to then take to the shoe companies and say, here's why you need to build this.
So these shoes don't even have a name on them at this point. It's just
they have a different regular shoe company name, that we had hacked up. I'm sure Company A was pretty pissed that we were taking their shoe and cutting their technology out of the heel and adding, cushioning to level the shoe out.
Okay, so you, after 1,000 pairs, you're thinking, okay, we're onto something, let's start a shoe company. But this is a year after the recession, so what was that like? Is this the best time to start a running shoe company, or is this the worst time?
It's probably, I don't know. I didn't care, I didn't think about it. Let's be clear, I did not want to start a shoe company. That's suicide.
If you look back 40 years since modern running shoes have been around, we've had the same 7 shoe brands. Nobody's ever broken in.
Yep.
So I was like bent on giving this, not selling it, just like, hey, shoe company, please build this so we can sell this at our store. And it was only after rejection after rejection after rejection, and my cousin Jeremy Hallett coming along, and same kind of thing. And he's like, dude, you know you have to build this. And I'm like, I know, but it's suicide. But he eventually prevailed, and we eventually did it. So
That's amazing. So
it wasn't about starting a company or making money or the timing or anything. It was like, we need to fix people. We need to make shoes that actually help people run better and get rid of the problems that they're dealing with. Because I was dealing with it every day in my store.
And so let's talk about the name of Altra. How did you guys come to the name of Altra? Because it's a really interesting meaning.
Yeah.
And I'm going to check if we have any questions. So tell the story of the brand.
Altra was originally Altera. This is a name I found in a foreign dictionary. And Altera meant to mend or fix that which was broken. And after pitching this to all the shoe companies and having them tell me like, oh, we don't care that it solves injuries. It's not about that. It's about marketing. Or like, you know, we can't do that because it would change. You know, we kind of have to admit everything we've been doing the last 40 years is wrong. I'm like, but you know, people are getting better. Like people are running better. People are being less injured. This is what we need. And getting rejected to find this name that meant to mend or fix that which is broken was like, okay, the whole goal of this company is to fix broken runners.
Yeah.
And now it feels like we're trying to fix a broken industry who seems to really not care. And then we had a trademark issue with Altera, the software company, which we could have won in court, but we didn't have time or money to fight. And we ended up just taking the E out unbeknownst to us. And I think it was Brian Beckstead, my friend and co-founder. He was all on this Altra name, and we were like, well, it's only one letter different. It's not really, you know, it's not going to fly. We submitted it to the trademark, you know, and it came through anyway. And so what we did with Altra, the way we came to that was not by taking the E out of Altera. It was actually the fact that I was altering shoes using my toaster oven with our first shoes we originally did. And the fact that we were training for ultra marathons, and we saw ourselves as an alternative to traditional shoes. So you take that alter and alternative and mash it together with ultra, and you get Altra.
Wow.
But it really all goes back to Altera, to mend or fix that which is broken.
Okay. And I just have to ask, what was the software company? What kind of software was it? Anything cool?
Altera is like $1 billion software company. I don't know. I'm not in the tech sector, so I don't know all what they do. But
me neither. You can Google it later.
Yeah. They're around.
They're around.
They've got T-shirts that say Altera, so that's why we're not Altera.
Claire asked a question. She says, long history of running, done a couple marathons, and said, I have history of plantar fasciitis and just ordered the Escalante, one size up for my street shoe. Do you have any other recommendations or other shoes that you'd recommend for speed work?
Yeah, actually the Escalante for most people is a pretty good speed work shoe. We used to call it plantar fasciitis. We now medically call it plantar fasciosis.
Okay.
So you want to look at why that is. There's no inflammation actually when they've gone in and biopsied people, and even most doctors are still not up to date on this. Okay. But you can go to my website, golden-harper.com, and I have a treatment sheet for plantar fasciosis on there. Look that up. I would, with the Escalante, if this is your first time in an Altra, I would get a 3/4 length insole called Triad by ProFoot, or there's like Tri-Comfort by Dr. Scholl's. There's a bunch of these really like sub $10 insoles that you can just slip under the insole of the shoe and make it really good for transitioning and for that plantar fascia while your foot gets used to developing new muscles and running in a different way and all that stuff that comes with changing things. But honestly, Escalante for most people is a pretty good speedwork shoe as well. It's very versatile. If you do want to go lighter and faster, you can look at the one from us as well.
Okay.
Yeah, great question. Thanks.
Great. Keep those questions coming. We've got a lot of good, questions, and again, wealth of knowledge here. This is the person to be talking to when it comes to running and running shoes, and we're so stoked that you're here today. I want to take it back in your history, 2012, winter of 2012. You get into pretty tragic snowboarding accident. Yeah. Tell us about that. What happened, and what was recovery like? I just think it's interesting that the shoes you just developed years before kind of helped you come back.
Yeah. In fact, pretty much all of us that are part of the company are here because of a story like this. So Jeremy Hallett, who really talked me into actually going forward with it, he came in because he had
hadn't run for 5 years with knee problems,
Yeah.
and the shoes allowed him to run again. Brian Beckstead, who runs the day-to-day of our company now, he had these hamstring issues, and I got him a pair of shoes, and a couple months later he calls me up and he's like, I've dealt with this hamstring issue forever. It's feeling better. This is amazing. I can tell I run different. I want in. You know? And so most of us have come in from because of one of those things right there. And for me, I had this snowboard accident. The shoes have been on the market just like 6 or 7 months. And I actually, if you see, this is about the extent of my flexibility. My feet
Even
here,
now?
Even now.
Yeah.
It was the same way before. My feet here came back behind my head. I hit a pipe doing a flip at about 30 miles an hour. And I separated my AC joint and just cracked my helmet, and it was crazy. And what happened is I couldn't really walk at first.
Yeah.
And then I certainly couldn't run. And it just really destroyed everything back here from my glutes to my hamstrings.
Okay.
And honestly, it's still getting back now. I get a little better every year. But what I discovered is if I ran with really focused on my running technique, and of course wore our shoes, and actually pushed it, it would actually get me to a point where I could go a little bit farther, a little bit harder.
Right.
And so each year I push it a little bit more. And I was in a situation at the time that it was like, you'll probably never run competitively again.
Wow.
And I'm not at a super elite level right now, but I did run like a 31 minute and change 10K earlier this year. And so I'm running fairly fast.
So how many miles are you running a week now?
I'm not a big mileage guy these days
Okay.
because of some of those issues, and because I'm just so busy and I travel so much. So I'm a quantity over quality guy.
Okay.
I do put in a lot of vertical. I think I put in between 3,000 and 4,000 vertical feet a week. So a fair amount of climbing, descending, a lot of trail running.
Yeah.
So I get out.
So one really good question we have from Brian, who's joining us live. How would you describe to someone the potential benefits of trying a zero drop shoe? What's the best way to ease into trying Altra, for the first time? A lot of these experts, they're talking to people on the sales floor all day. Someone comes in, it's like, hey, I've heard of Altra. What now?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I want people to understand is that there's a big difference between a non-cushion zero drop shoe and a cushion zero drop shoe. And when minimalist shoes came about, we saw some supposedly zero drop shoes that had no cushioning. Well, the whole term zero drop came from taking the midsole cushioning and cutting the cushioning out of the shoe, and leveling the cushion out, and making it so it didn't drop from heel to forefoot.
Gotcha.
And so, if you look at the term itself, it means the cushioning of the shoe.
Yeah.
And when you get a shoe with no cushioning, your foot and lower leg have to activate a lot more to control for impact. And when you have a more cushioned shoe, the more cushioning you have, the less of that happens.
Gotcha.
And so what I would say, to answer that question directly, is if you really want to supposedly ease the transition, for one, it's totally overhyped. It's not that big of a deal. But the biggest tip I can give is get a shoe that's a little more cushioned than the shoe that you currently have. And if you do, you're going to transition in a few days to a week for most people. And that's pretty simple,
Gotcha.
And I would say just do like you would anytime you switch other shoes. Go easy runs week 1, moderate runs week 2, long and hard runs week 3, and you're good to go. And I think people make way too much of the transition.
Sure.
And people just need to understand that the amount of cushioning has a lot more to do with lessening the transition time than the actual drop does. For example, you could get a shoe that had no cushioning in the forefoot and put a 15 millimeter heel lift in it, and you would still blow up your calves, Achilles, and foot muscles, because your foot still says, oh, I'm gonna land on something hard, I need to brace for impact, I need to use these muscles to do that, which ultimately is good and strengthens those muscles, but it makes you sore short term.
Sure.
So I just don't think the transition is anything to be scared of. And really, if it is something that you're worried about or worried about for your customer, then just take that customer and put them in the next cushion level up from us than the shoe that they're used to running in.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what would be kind of an intro to Altra? What would be that first Altra shoe that the general runner could get started in?
I think for most runners, it's either the Torin or the
Okay.
Paradigm.
Okay.
And the Torin is our high cushion neutral, and the Paradigm is our hybrid neutral stability shoe that's actually more of a high to max cushion.
Gotcha.
And so if you're used to running in like a Brooks Adrenaline or something like that, you probably want to go with a Paradigm. If you're used to wearing like a Glycerin or
a ride or a ghost or a normal neutral cush shoe, then you'd go with something like a Torn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it looks like some people are talking about, so David here, I own both the Torn, my favorite, and the Lone Peak for trail. I noticed, and I've seen that a lot. A lot of people, they'll have the double. And the Lone Peak is the trail shoe, it sounds like.
It's our number one seller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed the fit is much more loose and different than the Torn. Any reason why the two fit so differently?
Yeah, so the Torn is actually built on our performance last, what we call our PFS last, performance foot shaped. So that's going to be actually a little bit more room up in the ball of the foot, and then everywhere else it's going to be a lot tighter fit. We originally built that last for like speedwork style shoes, and it just happened to go on the tour and work, and so it's stuck. With the Lone Peak, it's more on our standard last, our SD last, and it's built more to log long miles and have a swelling allowance for ultra marathons and things like that. So that's why you see a fit difference there, is the two lasts are different, they have different volume. And that's the biggest difference between those shoes from a fit standpoint. And it's deliberate, I think you will see us tighten up the back half of the Lone Peak going forward in the future.
And so this is a good time that we can talk about actually the new Lone Peak, give experts a first look. This is hitting shelves now.
Yeah.
And
grab one.
If you're on the page now, go ahead and click below. The Lone Peak 3.5 will be added to the Altra store very, very soon on Experticity, if not already. And so let's dive in. Let's talk about what's different. I'm actually wearing my old Lone Peak 2.5s today.
Great shoe.
But let's take it up of what have you changed? What kind of testing went into this? And how did you get to the Lone Peak 3.5?
Yeah, I think one thing that experts should know is whenever we do a 0.5 update, it means everything under your foot went unchanged from a mold standpoint. And it's around your foot that got changed on the shoe. And with this shoe, this is about as much as you can change a shoe with a 0.5 update. So a couple really great features on here. We've added drain holes to the midfoot and the forefoot so that the shoe's just gonna drain a lot better. And then we've opened up the comfort windows or the bunion windows on the shoe here. And to prevent blowouts, instead of like reinforcing and put a bunch of extra overlays and stuff like we did on the 3, you see the stitching come across. And this stitch provides lightweight blowout protection, so you get all the comfort, all the durability without any of kind of the weight and restriction and stuff. So it's really cool. And then the other big thing with this shoe is we've gone with a seamless tongue construction. So if you reach in this shoe and reach from the toe through the vamp, through the tongue, absolutely seamless, nothing there at all, just feels buttery soft. You can wear this shoe sockless, which you're probably not going to do trail running, but it's that comfortable in there. And when you're out on a really long run, that's nice, not to have any irritation points at all. And then last but not least, we have the 4-point Gator attachment, which is a new thing for us. We've always had the 2-point Gator attachment. We invented this Gator attachment in the back, which other brands are starting to rip off now. But you just put your Velcro Gators here and clip into the ring on front. And now we've actually added these additional hooks here on the side where our 4-point Gator can attach and clip there as well. So that Gator is going to stay down no matter how much mud or brush or snow you run through, which is a really cool feature. And everything else is fairly similar to the 3. I think the fit's a little bit sleeker through the back half just due to materials on this shoe, and we're really excited about Lone Peak 3.5. It's an awesome shoe. Still full-length rock protection plate in this shoe as well. We did try to beef that up a little bit as much as we could from the 3.
So I've heard a rumor that you're the hardest gear tester on these shoes. So what kind of testing goes into this? I mean, how many times does it go back that you're like, no, we've got to change it, again? What happened with the Lone Peak 3.5 specifically?
I think we're in a unique position as a shoe company in that those of us guys that run it and ladies that run it, we're actually pretty serious runners. Yeah. And we always joke we would love to take on any of the other shoe companies and, name your distance, we'll be there, we'll show up, your executive is against ours. But the thing is, we actually test this stuff ourselves. And so, I go out, run on the shoe and say, this isn't cutting it, that isn't cutting it, we need to get this better. And you're never gonna get everything perfect, but we try. And then the other thing is we have our Ultra team. And so we actually, for example, we have a shoe coming out, the Timp, that we may talk about later, that we had Jeff Browning and a bunch of our other athletes running in last year at this time. and the shoe isn't even launched yet.
Yeah.
And testing it, and so they come back and say, at mile 97 of Hard Rock, this blew out right here, or like, I was doing this crazy steep descent, and the rubber wasn't sticky enough, or who knows what it happens to be. And so we take that feedback, and yes, I'm very hard on the shoes because I want to push them to their limits and see what they do. So I do a lot of peak bagging, mountain scrambling. So I'll take the shoes up, and a lot of really fast stuff on trail. I'll do 4-minute and change miles, sub 5-minute miles on trail, just carving up a trail with the shoe and see how it handles, how stable it is, how grippy it ends up being. So we put stuff through the paces.
Yeah.
It's what we do. That's kind of our testing process is probably different because a lot of shoe companies just
send shoes out to a bunch of random people, which we do as well to our ambassador team. But it's a little bit more personal when it's in-house and it's you and it's your shoe.
Sure.
So.
So for a quick minute, if you want to get connected with Golden, you're on Strava.
Yeah.
Are you the only Golden Harper on Strava at this point?
I am the only Golden Harper on Strava.
And it is the one social media thing I actually do. So it's probably the best place to connect with me is there on Strava.
So if you're on Strava, make sure to connect with Golden. Right there, you get, compare miles and maybe do some challenges there. It could be a lot of fun. So if you're way into running on Strava, Golden is there, and he's ready to take you on.
And join the Ultra Strava Club too. We're pretty fun. So
okay,
I think.
Nice. One question we had, and I had asked you this before, and it looked like that it had sold out, but we're getting a question around the Torin New York City Special Edition. What happened there? It sounds like they sold out quick.
Yeah, they sold out real quick. It was the craziest thing. It was like 3 days after the marathon, and I was at Costco somewhere, and I see this like really big dude get out of the car, and I'm like, he's got New York City Torrens on. He must have ordered them online like the second we put them on, because they're only up for like a day or two. It was like boom, gone, and so but we just had this idea. We wanted to do a shoe for New York, and we had a designer that had a really cool idea to do some kind of graffiti and street artwork on the shoe, and it just came together really nice, and one of those kind of one-off special edition shoes, and it just went really well, and we sold a ton at the race, and then the rest just kind of went like wildfire online, and that's it. They're gone. So if you can find one on eBay, they're probably expensive. I don't know.
If we had one, we would show you here now, but
I'll put it this way, I don't have one.
Yes, there we go. Ultra doesn't even
I gave away the one pair I had. So.
Yes, and that came from Keith, so sorry, Keith, but we're not sorry because it sounds like a cool shoe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for rubbing it in there.
And then let's talk about the Timp real quick. We've got Mike really stoked on the 3.5, but he's let's take a look at the Timp.
Yeah, so here's the Timp. So previously with Ultra, the last few years, we've basically had a 3-shoe trail lineup. We've had the Superior as our light and fast, the Lone Peak as our moderate, kind of do everything, and then the Olympus up in the Max Cush category. And that's been our trail shoe lineup for several years now. It's served us well. We've been extremely successful at trail. And we wanted to fill in a couple gaps. And so one of those was soft ground and obstacle course racing, which we did with a new shoe called the King MT, which is even thinner than the Superior. And then the other was finding a spot in between the Lone Peak and the Olympus. So a little bit more cushion than the moderately cushioned Lone Peak, a little bit less than the Max Cushion Olympus, and something that would be really great for harsh ultras and stuff like that. So I kind of call this our long day shoe. Okay. If you're going out and doing long days, that's really what the Timp is built for, whether that's hiking rim to rim in the Grand Canyon or running Hard Rock or whatever ultra marathon it happens to be. That's really what the Timp was designed for. And also another way to look at it, for those of you who know ultra, this is basically a Torin for trail.
Okay.
So it's going to have, it's built on that same performance last, PFS last as the Torin, same midsole thickness as the Torin, just with a bunch of trail goodness features, descent rudder, sticky traction, rock protection, drain holes, tougher upper, more durability, Gator trap, all that stuff.
So let's talk about what was on the previous Timp that maybe you had to let go, but this one now is new and improved. What were things that weren't working or came back on feedback that you're like, okay, this has got to change?
So this is the first Timp.
Oh,
so it's the original.
Sorry, I was going back to Lone Peak and getting it all straight.
So it was basically some of our thru hikers and then some of our ultra runners were like, hey, love the Lone Peak, but I'd like a little more cushion. Or, hey, love the Olympus, but can I get a little bit less cushion, but not as much, not as little less as, as the Lone Peak? And we really felt like we were so successful with Torin on the road. The Torin has been our #1 selling running shoe. And so to take that kind of platform and that cushion level that's been so successful for us on the road and adapt it to trail is really what the Timp has been about. So that fit, that cush level, that kind of feature set of the Torin.
Gotcha.
And we just had so much feedback asking for it. It was kind of a no-brainer. So
great. Let's see what other questions we have here. People are asking, Richard's asking about an Escalante 1.5 update or 2.0. Anything we can expect there?
That shoe pretty much rocks, so we're going to try not to mess with it too much. We'll try not to screw it up. I'll just put it that way.
Okay. And if you have any feedback of Altra shoes that you've been running in, this is the time. Go ahead and add a comment. Let's get it to Golden right away. This is a good time to ask. So lots happening at Altra right now. You guys launched an app.
Yep.
The IQ, which is synced with the shoe. It's an in-ear, basically coach that is helping you along the way. Tell me about that. What refinements are being made? What can people expect from the app with the IQ shoes?
Yeah. So the way the shoe works is it's got multiple sensors that run heel to forefoot, and they talk to each other where they are in relation in space and how much force they're feeling.
Gotcha.
And so the shoe basically tells you some main running technique metrics. It's going to look at your cadence, your impact rate, or how much force you're putting on the shoe, as well as your foot strike, where you're landing, if your landing zone is good or if it's going to cause injury, and then your left to right ground contact time.
Gotcha.
And so it's going to look at all those things, and then what it does is it makes recommendations to your technique or your form based on what it's sensing. And so the thing is, for most runners, like 95% of runners have never had any coaching on how to run in a way to protect their body.
Right.
Running practice is usually you show up. My first day of cross country I had a great coach, but it was still kind of like, hey, welcome to practice, everybody. Blah, 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 blah. Go run, see you in half an hour.
Sure.
And no instruction on like, here's how you protect yourself while you're out there. Here's how you run efficiently. If we did this in swimming, people would die. You know what I'm saying? And so this is a means of actually teaching people how to run in a way to protect their bodies and to run more efficiently, which means you can run faster with less injury. And so what the shoe will do, it actually takes all of the tips that we build into what we call our Altra Run Better initiative, where we go and teach people how to run all around the country. And it does that in the shoe. So let's say, for example, the shoe senses that you're overstriding or you're harshly heel striking.
Yeah.
The shoe senses a safe zone between like a really soft heel strike and a really soft forefoot strike, and everything in between, midfoot, full foot landing, whatever. And if it senses that you're outside of that zone, and for our purposes, we'll say that you're hitting, harshly on your heel, it's going to say, hey, it looks like you're landing too hard and you're overstriding, you're heel striking harshly. Here's a tip to help fix it. Gotcha. And it might be not something you're expecting. It might tell you to put your elbows back and keep your elbows back behind your hips. But what people don't realize is that when the hip stays behind the elbow, the foot won't come out in front of the body because these two are connected. Or it might give you a posture tip. Same deal. If it tells you, it'll tell you to get your hips and your chest forward, because it's really hard to overstride and land way out in front of your body when your hips and chest are in proud position. So there's dozens and dozens of tips built into the shoe that react to the way you're running, that then give you coaching and teach you how to run in a way to protect yourself and to be faster with less effort, which I think is super cool. And there's just nothing else like it out there. Most people won't pay to get a coach, but I think people will pay, $70 more than a standard running shoe to get a coach you can wear once, twice a week, 3 times a week, that'll last you a year plus, and give you the coaching on the fly in your moment of greatest need. Even if you hire a coach, what are the chances that they're going to be with you at mile 23 of your marathon or mile 2.5 of your 5K when you're starting fatigue, when your form starts to fall apart, when everything the wheels start to come off? This coach is still here saying, hey, this is what you're doing and here's how to fix it. And it's right here in your ear. It's on screen if you want it as well.
Wow.
It's super cool.
That's awesome.
And
so it's like Golden's there with you.
It kind of is. We actually took my tips, and I was going to do the voice, but I wanted to make sure it worked first, so I wasn't guilty if it sucked. And so we put a girl that works with us here, and she has a great voice, and
That's awesome.
so she's there to coach you along the way with my words. So,
there you go. I love it. Little switch of gears here. We're getting a ton of questions about zero drop flip-flops. David asked, hey, what about an everyday flip-flop, zero drop and the foot shape? Rodney is saying, yes, great idea. Is that even on the radar? Can you share that with us? Zero drop flip-flops?
Here's the thing, the issue we have with flip-flops is that they cause your toes to grip.
Okay.
And that can cause plantar fascia issues with people, even though, and the other thing is there's a lot of flip-flops out there that are already shaped like feet and they're already zero drop. And so that's not like a market we feel like we necessarily need to conquer. There might be a little bit more opening in sandal we've talked about, or recovery slide, or something along those lines. But I have a pair of leather reef, flip-flops that are zero drop and foot shaped, and I have strong feet with no plantar fascia, concerns or issues. So I wear them, but maybe down the road, I don't know. Maybe a couple years.
David, will you settle for a maybe? Please comment below. We need to confirm. No, good idea, but definitely focused on the road, on the trail.
Yeah, well, and we really try and address markets. We're not here to wipe other brands out of markets they're already in. We try and address areas where other brands are weak, or markets that don't exist. I'm a big fan of creating markets. Yeah. There was no market for zero drop foot shaped shoes. We pitched it to everybody and we're told to go pound sand. So we decided to create a market. And so for me, it's all about creating a market rather than trying to go over and take out an established one.
Okay. We're getting a few questions on the Timp. When can people expect the Timp in stores, on the shelves, even on Experticity?
Soon. Weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
Weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. It's always, shipping and customs and check-in, but I mean, they're here. They're coming.
They're coming. Okay, yeah. The Timp is coming.
So just give us, a couple days to weeks, not weeks to months. Okay.
Fair. Fair.
Yep.
Let's see. A couple other things. Any upgrade to the Olympus? Got a question from Brent. He says we find it too much medial support. Most people break them down laterally.
The Olympus. Interesting. Okay, I see it both ways. Depends on your group of people and how strong your feet are, how heavy you are, etc. The problem we see with most max cushion shoes and basically all the other max cushion shoes we've seen on the market is 100, 200 miles in, they're actually leaning together so that the collars are touching. So most of them collapse in. The Olympus is not actually firmer on the medial side or anything. There's no extra medial support on that shoe.
Yeah.
So that's probably you and your group of friends' individual biomechanics. We do see if you stand on it a lot or walk on it a lot, there's more lateral pressure for standing and walking than there is when running. And since that shoe was really built as a kind of an ultra distance shoe, it's more built a little bit more run specific, so that would explain it too. But anytime you get a shoe really high off the ground that's really thick, you're going to have situations where a shoe's going to wear unevenly because you have lots of thick, soft cushioning, which means it's pliable over time.
Gotcha.
But yes, new Olympus coming. We actually are trying to address that and other issues with that shoe to make it as good as we possibly can, for sure. So
good. Hopefully that answers your question. As we kind of wrap up here, if there's any last minute questions, we're just going to be on for a few more minutes live here with Golden Harper, the founder of Altra Footwear. Make sure to get those questions in now. We're going to be wrapping up soon. I want to ask you, what can you tell us that you can't tell anybody else? What's coming down the pipeline that only experts are going to hear today, and that we aren't going to make your lawyers too mad?
What can you tell us that you can't tell anyone else? Well, nothing. Along those lines, so I think there's a couple exciting things coming out. I won't give any specifics really, but we got a new line of casual shoes coming down the pipe next year. So I think that'll be cool. If you're looking for a few more wear around options from us, that'll be there. If you feel like you need more go fast ultra options, that also will be coming out, in a matter of months and into the start of next year as well. So. If you're looking for a really go fast, super low to the ground, lightweight, minimal shoe, we may or may not be releasing that in a few months.
Okay.
If you're looking for just the opposite, a crazy lightweight, thick, soft shoe, we also may have that coming down the pipe as well. And I think let me just check my
And that's totally fair.
See if I'm missing anything else.
Yeah, we want to push it, but want to see what's coming that people can be excited about.
I think those are the two big ones: the casual line and then the super light shoes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions are rolling in. I'm going to get to as many as these possible. We're going to do a lightning round. Okay.
Lightning round.
Okay. Lightning round. Here we go. Okay. Ready? From Richard, is Ultra Ego cushioning foam going to transition into other models besides the Escalante?
Yes.
Boom. Does Ultra have community outreach programs, especially in communities that typically don't see as many opportunities or access to higher end running equipment? From Jacob.
Ooh, yes, in roundabout ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what that question means, but like working with the Run Better initiative through running stores and fleet feets, and we do a lot of stuff kind of off the record as well, where basically we'll have a store come to us and say, hey, can you do this for our community? And we'll be like, yeah, we can do that. Sure. And then there's other cases where we'll come in and say to them, hey, we'd like to do this in your community, and they'll come and say, yeah, that's fine, let's do that. So yes.
Okay, yes, they're doing it. Ever considered BOA lacing for any line of shoe? From Jeff.
Tested that on so many shoes. The question is for you: are you willing to pay $20 to $30 more for a pair of shoes with BOA lacing? That's where we get hung up, is when we go out and do the surveys.
Yeah.
Everyone wants BOA, and then we say, are you willing to pay $30 more for it? And all of a sudden people are like, I don't know, I'm not sure. Or the people that don't want BOA are like, well, you can't raise my shoe $20 or $30 for a feature that I don't really want. So that does get difficult. We are looking at trying to maybe put it on one version of a shoe. So we make both a regular lace version and a BOA version.
Gotcha.
You may see that in the future, depending on how the kind of numbers work out and how that idea is received. So that's a tricky one. We really like BOA. We're fans of it. The application is unique, though.
So experts, real quick, if you're Team BOA, just go ahead and comment below Team BOA that you're in. And if you're not Team BOA and you're okay with what it is now, say no BOA.
And the Team BOA people are really vocal.
Yes. If you're vocal, bring it on. You. Yeah, comment below Team BOA or not.
We'll see you at Outdoor Retailer. I guarantee it.
Let's see. Are insoles counterintuitive to the zero drop concept? Super feet, whatever.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Just the opposite. Every other shoe makes it so you have to wear an insole. We give you, since you don't have your heel pitched down and your toes up and the arch bent over in the shoe with our shoes, you're in the most stable position to start from.
Gotcha.
And so it actually makes the insole that much more effective. Now, with that said, I generally look at an insole as like a cast. You break your arm, you wear a cast until it gets better, you take it off, and then the next time you break your arm, you put the cast back on.
Gotcha.
Same thing with insoles. If something hurts, I definitely recommend putting an insole in, getting things to chill out. And then the problem is an insole is a cast of your foot. It makes your foot weak over time. And so we recommend either A, doing foot strengthening exercises if you wear insoles, or B, transitioning out of your insoles slowly and keeping them around. I have a pair of super feet and other insoles that I keep in my closet for when something bad happens. I kind of ironically haven't really had to use them much the last few years, but it's something I believe everyone should own a pair, and our shoes do a better job of helping the insole do its job than any other shoe out there, in my opinion. So
awesome.
Absolutely not.
More kid shoes coming. This is coming from Jason.
Fighting for it. It's just a matter of like trying not to lose too much money on them.
Okay,
So,
fair.
yeah, it's a difficult thing from a sales standpoint.
We answered the third-party shoe insoles for Michael. Will you bring back the 3-Sum triathlon shoe from William?
Probably not. Coolest shoe name ever, in my opinion. Maybe because I named it, but triathlon shoe named the 3-Sum. Loved it. It turns out there wasn't a huge market for sprint distance triathlon racing shoes.
Okay.
So maybe in the future when the brand is bigger and we can have a little bit more niche SKUs. But right now we have the Impulse, which is more of an iron distance shoe that also has drain holes in it. So
does that warm your heart a little bit that someone called out the 3-Sum?
It kind of does,
okay.
Yeah.
William, nice job.
I still have those in my closet. I still wear them sometimes because they're cool.
Awesome.
They're so cool.
People are still stoked on the flip-flops, and people are going crazy about BOA. There's a lot of no BOAs, even ban the BOA. Dang, someone's starting a hashtag. We are fans of BOA. They're on Experticity as well, so much love to BOA. Great session today. Thank you so much. Thank you, the experts, for joining us live. We're here at Altra headquarters with the founder, Golden Harper. Watch for more Expert Live shows. We're going to be meeting with cool brands on Experticity, getting a behind-the-scenes look, all the cool stories, what does the logo mean, all that stuff, and answering your questions right here on experticity.com. Golden, is there anything else you want experts to know about Altra?
You were going to mention the Journey logo. So that was.
We want to talk about the logo real quick.
Yeah.
I have to ask. I want to talk about this. Tell me about the logo here.
So we call this the Journey logo. That's the name of our logo, and it's just supposed to be a path disappearing off into the distance. And for us, like we all personally, those of us here at Altra, we're all on our own running journey, and so we've come from this place, and we're coming to this place, and the logo itself represents the journey that we're all on as runners to become better runners. Or hikers, or whatever it is you happen to be doing with our shoes, but to make yourself more efficient, better, more injury-free. And most of us came on a journey that included those things.
Yeah.
And we feel like most of our customers have become kind of a part of the brand family for the same reasons.
Sure.
And so we think the Journey logo is a perfect representation of kind of everything we're about, is trying to get better over time and improve and go through this journey of life and fitness and everything else.
I love that. That's a great thing you can take to people who are asking about Altra, that you can say, hey, it's about this journey, it's about this path, and Altra is this idea and this definition of mending and fixing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else, Golden?
No, that's the main thing I just like to get across, is I think there's like a little bit of a stigma out there that came from barefoot running or minimal shoes, that zero drop shoes are something to be scared of. And it's really just the opposite. Zero drop shoes are there to fix and help get people better from the injuries that are actually created by traditional shoes that put people's bodies out of their natural position. And traditional shoes are actually getting better over time. Since we've started, the industry started to change and adapt a lot, and that's not to bash other brands. I think there's a lot of great shoes from a lot of great brands out there. But I think just know that we're a little bit different in that we're not some big corporate giant that is subject to our shareholders. We're a private company. And for us, it really is all about trying to make, for me, and hopefully the lawyers don't hear this, but my personal goal has nothing to do with Altra, well, I'll say it that way, is to make the most injury-free running shoes known to man based on scientific research. And so I'm always going and reading new research and then taking that research and adapting it to our shoes and engineering the shoes in a way to make them more stable, more comfortable, and do things that allow the body to actually do its thing and not get hurt along the way. So
thank you.
That's our passion. That's our goal. That's what we're trying to do. So
that's a noble mission. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Lots of people saying thank you. Everyone's loving you, and you're awesome. Props to your team. Thank you for joining us live today. Make sure to check out Altra. You can click the link below this video, learn and shop, and check out what they have coming. Timp is coming, a couple of weeks, months. Lone Peak 3.5, it should be very, very soon. So go ahead, dive into the specs, dive into all the great product features on Experticity. And thank you for joining live. Watch for more episodes of the Expert Live Show coming to you soon.
Sweet.
Thanks, Golden.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right. See ya.
See you
Thanks.
guys.